최고의 전문가분들을 모시고 주요 국방 연안을 심도 있게 분석하고 발전적인 시사점을 도출하는 아웃사이트 시간입니다. 인도태평양 중심의 국제 질서가 재편되는 과정에서 많은 국가들이 인도태평양 지역에서의 영향력 확대를 위한 정책적 노력을 기울이고 있습니다. 특히 안보적, 경제적 측면에서 직간접적인 이해관계가 있는 유럽 국가들이 인도태평양 지역의 안정적인 안보 환경 질서 유지에 기여하기 위한 관여 노력을 기울이고 있는데요. 강대국 간의 역학관계 속에서 직간접적인 영향을 받을 수밖에 없는 한국의 입장에서 유럽과의 협력은 한국의 국익적으로를 위한 전략적 공간을 확충할 수 있는 좋은 기회가 될 수 있을 것이라고 생각을 합니다. 주한유대표부 대사님과 이야기 나눠보도록 하겠습니다. Dear Ambassador, thank you for joining us today in spite of a heavy demand on your time.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. 감사합니다.
Yeah. Ambassador, as the strategic importance of the Indo-Pacific region continues to grow, the EU has expanded its role in the Indo-Pacific security in recent years. What are the key drivers behind this shift, and what is the significant, European Union's Indo-Pacific strategy?
Well, the Indo-Pacific matters a lot for European countries, and we are so interconnected, both economic but also security, prosperity. The Indo-Pacific represents 60% of global GDP, and Europe is the biggest foreign investor in the Indo-Pacific countries. It is our second biggest destination for European exports. It hosts so many waterways, so important, from the Taiwan Straits to the South China Sea to the Malacca Strait. Do you know that more than 2,000 ships move every day from Europe to the Indo-Pacific and the Indo-Pacific to Europe? This is enormous. So whatever happens in the Indo-Pacific matters to Europe, and whatever happens in Europe matters to the Indo-Pacific, because we are so interlinked and we're working together for both peace, prosperity and development of partners in the Indo-Pacific. So that's why our Indo-Pacific strategy, when we adopted it in 2021, it was really meant to make an enormous effort to re-engage, recommit, deeper cooperation, deeper investment in the Indo-Pacific. And that's what you have been seeing slowly around this last year.
Building on that point, could you highlight some of the EU's key initiatives in the Indo-Pacific region so far, particularly in areas such as the maritime security, cyber security, or supply chain resilience, or digital connectivity?
First, on a very broad green agenda. So, for example, with Korea, we have our green partnership, which is an enormous green agenda which covers everything from plastic, oceans, to renewables, to energy, to hydrogen, everything. With Japan, we had the Green Alliance, for example. On digital, we have the digital partnership, both with Japan, Singapore, and Korea, where digitalization is so important, and you are leading, the technological and innovation research. So these are our key issues. We have our security and defense partnership with Japan and Korea, very important also on the security, and that allows us to do a lot more on maritime, on cyber, on counterterrorism, as you mentioned. But also we have an enormous offer. You need to accompany, especially for partners that need that, we help them on the digital, green, and transport connectivity. We have the Global Gateway. It's the big investment offer that Europe is doing to partners all over the world. And the Indo-Pacific receives part of this big infrastructure program. For example, we have been doing in Bangladesh, working on the big renewable energy projects in Bangladesh, digital connectivity for the Pacific Islands. All these are big infrastructure projects. They need big investment. So we partner with private, with banks, with support from our side. In part of practice in the Indo-Pacific, Korea has also increased its ODA very significant, and it's a very trusted partner for many of the Pacific partners and Indo-Pacific partners. So we want to work with Korea on these issues.
Ambassador, as the EU deepened in its engagement in the Indo-Pacific, it has also placed, strong emphasis on working closely with Asian partners. Why is cooperation with Asian countries like South Korea crucial for EU's involvement in the Indo-Pacific region? In your view, what makes South Korea a particularly important strategic partner?
Well, with South Korea, we share universal values. We share the promotion of democracy, human rights, and rule of law. an international rule-based order. We are in a very challenging times where international rule-based order in every domain, being security, environment, trade, is put into question. So with Korea, we know it's a partner that for Korea, international rule-based order is so important. United Nations at the core, multilateralism, WTO, non-proliferation, Paris Agreement, all these agreements that are part of global agreements where we all sign up. And Korea is a partner with us to try to solve all the challenges that come today. It has the economic clout and the political will to do it. So Korea has also an Indo-Pacific strategy, which was the first of its kind and which allow us to have a lot of synergies of cooperation with Korea. So Korea also is a partner that has strong links with other parts in the global south. And I think that we want to see Korea to be a partner that promotes with other partners all these principles which are very, very crucial to us.
To build on your point about South Korea's strategic importance, could you share a few specific examples of security or strategic cooperation between EU and other Asian countries like Japan, India, or ASEAN members?
Well, with Korea and those ASEAN members, we have been doing a lot on maritime security. You mentioned maritime security is so important in the Indo-Pacific because your waterways are so important for prosperity, for trade, for security. So you see more and more joint ports calls from many of the European countries, Navy vessels that are coming here and are working with Korea, with Japan. I was in Malaysia ambassador before being here, and I remember going to Port Klang to also visit the different navies vessels that were there. It's important that they come, that their presence is here. These are international waters. This is about freedom of navigation. This is about we all have to respect that. Otherwise, we will have problems with the whole global economy if something happens in these waters because of the importance. And also, we have used them to monitor sanctions, United Nations sanctions, especially in the case of the DPRK. It was important that role that was done by many of the European countries. We don't have a navy, or we don't have an army, but we have 27 countries that can cooperate together. And even in many cases in the world with the EU flag on European missions, civil and military joint missions. And one of the examples is in one of these missions, Atalanta. You remember the big issue about piracy in the coast of Somalia, how many years we really had this enormous problems with all our trade, big vessels that were hijacked by pirates in Somalia. And we had to make an big operation to try to safeguard that freedom of navigation, and Korea was part of it, like Japan, like China, like India. So this was enormous effort, and there was no piracy anymore. And we have other examples now. We have also platforms of secure communication and sharing information, like EORIS, that we do with many partners, Vietnam, Philippines, Indonesia as well, that allows us to use more secure ways of communication in the maritime security area, but also on platforms for information sharing. How do we manage our maritime space? Very important. And there we have the Crimario program, and we hope Korea one day will be part of that. But we've been putting a lot of emphasis and also working with KIDA. I know very well all the work we have done together in these areas. It's important that we maintain this dialogue, not only at governmental level, but also at the level of experts that will allow and are the ones who sometimes are proposing ideas. It's so important. So the role KIDA has been doing with us, with our experts. I remember 5 years ago when I started pushing a bit security cooperation. SIWA, you remember our big program for security cooperation with partners in Asia. So I was trying to say, well, we need to start this dialogue. So important. So I'm very happy that you helped me to follow through.
Thank you for highlighting the role of the KIDA.
Yes.
Do you think the South Korean Navy is playing a meaningful role, in the EU-led, maritime security operations?
I think they are very willing to engage. I know it's not easy because your capacities in that perhaps are not so big to dispose of Navy vessels around the world, and you have here an imminent threat, so you have to also watch your area as well. But I think that collaboration started in Atalanta. We had Navy officers that came to Rota to Spain to be at headquarters of the Atalanta to learn how these missions of conflict prevention, crisis management are done. This is very important. You know, every time a joint port calls, I think we are having an Italian vessel coming soon. This is important because that creates exchange and networking possibilities, sitting down with Korean Navy officials and deepen slowly that trust, that exchange, and gradually. And this is very important.
I think that while there are many positive developments, there must also be challenges. What are some of the limitations or difficulties the EU has encountered in developing, strategic partnerships with the Indo-Pacific countries, whether it be institutional, cultural, or geopolitical?
Of course, it's. I would say the first one is because Europe is always perceived as a trading partner or an economic powerhouse. And I always say that Europe is not an economic project; it's a peace project. It was born after 2 world wars. Countries said, "Basta! We cannot have a third world war. We need to have a solution." So it was a peace and prosperity project. And therefore, we are now telling partners, we are also a security actor. You have to think of us as security actors. Perhaps it is the illegal Russian aggression to Ukraine and the war there that is now opening the eyes to many partners in, Europe is also providing ammunition, providing arms, helping Ukraine, supporting Ukraine is also a security actor. But I think that slowly and gradually this is coming. We are building this, trying to change this perception, but it takes time. Second is that, of course, we are security, and as I said, armies are part still of national EU countries. So we are now, because of the war in Ukraine, we have to take our own security into our own hands, we have to be responsible for our own security. So it has been a wake-up call for us, because European security is a threat in Ukraine. Russia is a threat to European security. And we have to, all the efforts that are now being put on the table for Europe to be ready, to be prepared against all these security threats, which are so important, so imminent. How can we do it? What do we need to do? So all this is there, and you see that there is an effort to do it jointly, to do it in cooperation inside Europe. One country cannot do it alone. So there is an effort then to push more the defense of Europe together.
You just been mentioned in the efforts the EU is making to overcome those challenges. Do you see European Union's, multilateral approach as a particular strength in that context?
Of course, I think we have to work at 2 levels, at least multilaterally. There is so many, and Europe tries to coordinate positions at all multilateral forum, being the discussions in the EAA on the NPT, the Treaty of Non-Proliferation, or the Treaty of Chemical Weapons, or all these discussions that are there to try to, in the OSCE, in the EAA, to try to work and maintain a rule-based order which allows countries, not to proliferate, not to continue increasing their arsenals in the way that threatens other countries. Also at United Nations. I mean, Korea is part of the United Nations Security Council, non-permanent member. It's also part of the Human Rights Council. It's also part of ECOSOC. So it has an important role to play today in all the discussions, the challenge, the looking for solutions at international level. And at the UN level, we are not at the UN Security Council, but we coordinate the work of all the European Union countries at New York all the time. And many of the positions that are read and presented there are unified positions or common positions at UN level. So that is multilateral, and we need to continue. We need to defend. It's so important that we defend a rule-based international order, because if we manage to agree on treaties and then the treaties are cannot implement it, or countries choose and pick what they want to implement, then we don't go anywhere. So I think it's very important, and that's why the importance of Korea again with us doing that. Then bilaterally, we try to, with these security and defense partnerships that we have with some countries in the world, now around 10, it's so important that we deepen this cooperation, that we try to bring our experts, our government officials, military, together much more. We cannot just work with one or two partners. We need to broaden. We need to work together. So bilaterally trying to deepen the trust, and multilaterally to work together to preserve our rule-based international order, which is so important.
Right, then now let's turn to the global context. Since Russia's invasion of Ukraine, the interconnectedness between Euro-Atlantic and the Indo-Pacific security has been increasingly emphasized. How do you see this evolving linkage, and what implications does it have for European Union's strategic posture in the region?
Well, the impact is very clear. I mean, we see every day in the Ukrainian, North Korean soldiers. We see North Korean ammunition. We see North Korean missiles, artillery. I mean, that makes a huge difference in the war. And Ukraine is fighting a war for Europeans in European soil. So this is so important. So that link is absolutely clear. And this is against United Nations security resolutions. I mean, this is what they are doing, and what Russia and North Korea military cooperation is against United Nations security. So where are the norms? We managed to have United Nations Security Council resolutions, and they are not enforced. So that is the first time. Second, so again, the rule-based international order at stake by big Security Council members, which have a responsibility to implement United Nations Charter and resolutions. So that cooperation, I'm sure it will continue. So we will certainly be very concerned, and that's why we certainly are very grateful of all the support.
Right, then in light of this, shifting global landscape, what steps can EU and Asia take to further, strengthen the security cooperation?
We need to all work together to defend the rules and the international order and the United Nations principles that are there. This is not about choosing and picking. We all do there. The whole international base order just crumbles. So we need to build trust partnerships. And I think Europe is a reliable and a trusted partner for Korea, for many other partners in the region. What we sign, what we say, we maintain. And today, in the world of today, we need that trust. And we need to make everything possible to maintain and to nurture at all levels, in all sectors. Because security is not only about arms and military officials. This is security. We speak about economic security, we speak about health security, we speak about energy security. So all is interlinked, and this interdependence, which then are being weaponized, is so important that we avoid that. Everything is being weaponized, is being made a weapon today. Right. So how we respond in a more broader way, how we create trust and that support to the rules and the principles that govern relations between countries is very important.
I'd like to touch another, very interesting, important, issues. As you know, South Korea's defense industry has gained significant attention in Europe. What do you think are the major factors behind this rising popularity?
Korea defense industry has developed very quickly, always in a pali way. But we have but we have been working with Korea for this as well. There is a long collaboration with Korea industry. I mean, Airbus has been working with KAI for a long time, and we have developed joint projects together. In the missile area, I know that other companies have been also working with Korea together. So now, of course, the war in Ukraine and we have been helping and providing Ukraine with a lot of ammunition, has also brought us to the point that I mentioned before, where we have to be ready for our own security. We have to be prepared. We have to rearm.
All right. Then I wondered, how do you see the future of the defense industrial cooperation between South Korea and Europe? And what do you think are the major opportunities or current limitations that need to be addressed?
Well, there will be a lot of opportunities. I think that there is a big potential there. The white paper on defense readiness for Europe is on the table. It's being discussed in Europe, so it's still work in progress. So let's see how that strategy for Europe's readiness to be prepared against the current threats we have comes out after discussions with EU countries. But the proposal we put in the table already foresee the possibility to work together with the defense industry of the partners where we have a security and defense partnership. So the importance again of that bilateral track of security and defense partnership with Japan, with Korea in Asia, which is important in order to be able afterwards to deepen that collaboration further. How are we going to do it? It's not yet clear because it's all in under discussion, but certainly it is an opportunity. The limitations, I think we are trying also to increase our defense industry, so we are both working towards that to make Europe more stronger in its defense sector. We are working, for example, very closely with Ukraine. We are trying to integrate Ukraine defense industry into the European one, so that is one of the key elements of our defense strategy. To support Ukraine military. Also, another key limitation that comes, it's Korea. This is not about just selling ammunition, arms, defense system. This is about a true partnership, and that means that we have to look at it in a broader sense. And I've said this to the ministers in my recent talks. We need to look at it in a real partnership and a trusted partnership. So working together. It means localization of production. It means doing joint research together. It means looking at all the angles that are there and not just sell opportunity. So we have to take it as an opportunity for a true partner.
I agree with your statement that selling like a weapon should not be the end, it should be the means, right? To strengthen the cooperations, yeah. Zooming out once again, as you know, the EU is engaging in the Indo-Pacific as a non-regional actor. Many argue that closer coordination between EU and United States is essential to ensure its effective engagement in the region. What is your perspective on this?
We coordinate and consult with the US on Indo-Pacific. We have Indo-Pacific consultations. We have consultations also on China. We have consultations on Korean Peninsula. So the consultations is there. But I think that also Europe has, by its own means, wants to have more deeper cooperation with Indo-Pacific and Indo-Pacific partners. And we will continue to do it. We consult with the US. We consult also with other key partners, with Japan, with Korea, with Australia, with New Zealand. So I think it's important Europe in itself will continue to safeguard its interest and its principles with those partners who also share. And we are, for example, deepening our free trade agreements with the region, while at the same time the US is not doing that. We are deepening with ASEAN, with Indonesia, with Philippines, with Thailand, with Malaysia. We have also our agenda, and our agenda is the Indo-Pacific strategy. So everything which is there, we have been ticking and doing. And this is not only a ticket, this is ticking and implemented. It's so important for us because free trade, fair trade, sustainable trade is very important.
And sir, last question. As we look ahead, what areas should South Korea and Europe prioritize in their future cooperation to contribute stable and rules-based Indo-Pacific security order?
Now we have the three partnerships through the Indo-Pacific strategy, the green, the digital, the security partnership. We need to implement them. There is enormous potential in many areas. You take from renewables, from cooperation in semiconductors, from artificial intelligence, quantum, hydrogen, including cooperation on nuclear, where we have also with some EU countries close cooperation now going on. You take the digital partnership, semiconductors, you mentioned supply chain resilience. We are going now to establish dialogue on issues which include supply chain resilience, raw materials access, economic security in broader terms with Korea. And then you have the whole potential of innovation and research. We are going to sign the Association of Korea to our big research program, Horizon Europe, and that involves enormous collaboration and innovation and technology. Korean institutes, research and innovation stakeholders working with European ones to try in all the areas from health to green to digital to push innovation together. So important. You cannot do the green transition, the digital transition without innovation. Also in defense, you cannot, the artificial intelligence, electronic armament is so important in research, in defense now. So how we work together, that's why I say when the partnership in defense, it has to have an innovation component together, a joint research component. So that benefits both sides.
Ambassador, I heard that your term as an ambassador is coming to an end this year. Before we conclude, is there anything you want to add? Perhaps like a message to Korean publics or on reflection on your time in South Korea?
I've been overall living in Korea 9 years, so my third home after Madrid, Brussels, and then it's in Seoul where I've more longer. So I feel at home here. I've been engaging with many Koreans at all levels. I've been traveling throughout the country. What I want to tell them is that Europe is your reliable partner. It's a trusted partner. And we need both to nurture this relation. And I have tried to do that, to build bridges, to nurture this relation at also people's level, bring people together. So important, bring experts together. My example with KIDA, when we started this collaboration 5 years ago, but with universities, with cultural people, with artists, with students, there's so much interest. So we need to really take this relation seriously and work together. Kachi is my word. Because it's important we do this together and to really, there's so many challenges in the world and Korea and the European countries can do this together and can work as trusted partners. So let us nurture that. Even if I am not here anymore, I will keep Korea always very close to my heart, and always my Korean friends will always be with anywhere I go. So thank you.
No, sir. I sincerely appreciate your dedication and contribution throughout your tenure in South Korea to strengthening ties between EU and South Korea. I wish all the very best and fair winds and following seas with the clear skies in your next chapter.
Thank you so much.
Once again, thank you so much for sharing valuable insight today.
감사합니다. 감사합니다.